not too far from New York. This is TSR's News with senior anchor Pete Charles Sesto and the following correspondents: Sarah Moulton on domestic arts, Will Ferrell with breaking news, our man on the street SpongeBob SquarePants, Courtney Cox with entertainment, and Andy Rooney's final thought. TSR's News with begins now. Welcome back to the Thrift Store Rundown of Bringing Hollywood home on a budget. We're just about ready to file our final report on TSR's News with and on the news and the state of journalism itself with sustenance and style. When you enter the news business, one of the great commandments to follow from the late Jim Lehrer, co-founder and co-anchor of the McNeil-Lehrer Report, which now stands today as the PBS NewsHour, is this: separate opinion from analysis and label everything. Nowadays, the woke people will say if you label something or someone, you demonize them. Whatever. At last check, Andy Rooney of 60 Minutes on CBS was no demon. Yet there's no need to label him, since 60 Minutes viewers and non-viewers clearly knew where he excelled, technically in both areas: real journalism covering the war for the Stars and Stripes newspaper, and in opinions. And that is what turned him into a celebrity, whether he wanted to be or not, and he really didn't want to be a celebrity. Yet, for over 30 years and over 1,000 commentaries, Andy Rooney spent the last few minutes of 60 Minutes complaining about everything and anything the world had to offer. From monumental tragedies such as the Oklahoma City federal building bombing on September 11, 2001, to everyday foibles such as wearing the same suit all year, wearing glasses, taking the escalator versus taking the stairs, and staring at romance novel covers, especially the Harlequin ones. We've done many Andy Rooney complaint compilation books on this channel, yet this one just may be a level up from the rest. Years of minutes from Public Affairs Press, spanning 21 years of a few minutes with Andy Rooney in celebration of 60 Minutes' 35th birthday. Picked up at Value Village in Hawthorne for $3.99, retailing at $16.95 in the US, $23.95 in Canada, with a few fake recommendations from colleagues and rivals in the news business. All of them fake. Why? Because Andy doesn't write blurbs or comments for other books written by his pals, so he didn't bother asking them to do him that solid. Whatever. Let's have a look at some of my favorites, some of which you can find in video form through links downstairs. Spanning 1982 all the way to 2003. First up, cookbooks. Andy tells you the real reason for buying cookbooks. Not to actually use them, but to read them while watching TV or listening to the radio. He'd be happy to know what I do with my cookbooks, aside from sharing them with you because, well, they're meant to be shared, right? Credits. Decoding the actual jobs of people who are listed in TV credits. Some of them carry a lot of weight, others not so much. You remember 60 Minutes used to have a full credit roll sometimes? More often than not, it was split screen. You see the credits on the right side, you had promos for other CBS shows on the left side. Now, 60 Minutes doesn't do that anymore. Next up, recipes. In here, Andy explains that after you try to entertain your ambition to follow a recipe, the only thing you're tempted to cook afterwards is that blue box of mac and cheese. Thank yous. When it comes to its audience, 60 Minutes really isn't the most grateful news magazine on television. It is the most trusted on network television, but not exactly the most grateful. Thank you carries a lot of weight, but Andy says that it's probably lost its meaning. Thank you very much from all of us at 60 Minutes and have a nice day. You don't hear them say that a lot, but you did hear him say that at the end of his final commentary before he died in November 2011 at the age of 92. With a warning: if you saw him at a restaurant, let him eat his dinner if you knew what was good for you. This is his riff on magazine covers and how they were just prime for pretty ladies on the cover. You can hardly tell Glamour from Mademoiselle, Red Book from Vogue, and Cosmopolitan from Good Housekeeping. He ought to see the collection I have if he was still around. Free. We like getting free stuff. I mean, it's our favorite four-letter word other than another one, which I don't think Andy liked during his days. Yet, a lot of free stuff, from catalogs to a box of cat food, isn't really free. If anything, you could save some money. Andy saved a penny, getting a box of cat food and discovering a Lincoln penny, versus getting a silver dollar, which would have taken $1 off the price of $3.99 instead of us $3.98. Yeah, free, alright. Movie critics. This riff explains how many movie critics and some of the words that they use here aren't really meant to be trusted. What would be his take on Cisco and Ebert? More importantly, what would be his take on that fake movie critic that some stupid suits at Sony Pictures created, David Manning, and they were punished for it? Next up, the worst inventions. 5 of his least favorite inventions of modern times. The hot air hand dryer, dust jackets on hardcover books, pop-top cans on soda cans, Venetian blinds, and one of the great failures of the century, the ballpoint pen. By the way, his most favorite invention on his top 5 favorite inventions is the venerable remote control.
Good evening. Our first story tonight.
Uh-oh.
Mom, thank you for the thought, but I can get my own men.
Oops, my bad. How bad, really? Hey Andy, why'd you do that? Ouch. The jury system. For as much fun as it can be to watch and listen to some of his complaints, a lot of them actually carry a lot of timely merit, especially when it came to the jury system and justice in America, when the O.J. Simpson trial became really one of the predecessors for what we call trial-tainment these days. I know that jury ruled the day that they deliberated on O.J.'s fate, kind of like the way the jury on Casey Anthony's trial ruled the day they decided her fate. I hate to be one of them, constantly watching their backs all the time. And finally, Martha Stewart. Andy and I both like Martha Stewart, and would hate to see Martha Stewart do anything else wrong. This is Andy's take on Martha Stewart and her genius ideas, and how he didn't want to see her go down the drain, going to prison. Yet, she's definitely not immune from legal penalties for securities fraud. I can tell you one thing, her cellmates, and probably a few of the correctional officers, even the warden, were probably well-fed and well taken care of while she did her time in federal prison for securities fraud. She has bounced back, especially with Snoop Dogg, and the rest is history. Speaking of which, 21 years worth of history, light and heavy, sunny and dark, it's all in here, including photos and stills from some of the commentaries that he did on his 60-minute segments. You know, he believed that if all the truth were known about everything in the world, it would be a better place to live. He also believed that he would never be the subject of an amateur YouTube critic's review, who couldn't dot his I's and cross his T's in the way he couldn't tie his shoes. That would have made him very angry. Too bad! But I like you anyway, and this book, because it's so relatable to me, gets the full-on 5 out of 5 clap rating. If you'd like to see some of his video commentaries, from cookbooks to free things which aren't really free, the links will be downstairs. It's more than worth a few bucks to spend more than a few minutes, make that a few years, 2 decades, with Andy Rooney, long after he filed his last complaint. And to quote the great Walter Cronkite, that's the way it is. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Just so you know, there's no limit to bringing Hollywood home on a budget. Please go ahead and check out another awesome review like this one by clicking here, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here. Until next time, I'll catch you, as I always do, on the flip side.